Ma'am, you can't afford that. That's what the store manager thought was the right thing to say, to the woman who secretly owned the entire luxury jewelry brand. But what happened next? She picked the wrong one to mess with. Because 60 seconds later, she was out of a job. What started as a routine shopping trip turned into a viral moment of karma, when a black CEO walked into her own flagship store and got profiled by the very team she built. The woman they tried to humiliate? She didn't just fire back, she flipped the script on every rule they thought they could bend. What she said, and how she handled it. It's the most powerful clapback you'll hear all year. So buckle up, because you're about to see what real leadership looks like when it walks in the door unannounced. And if you love bold stories, billionaire drama, and unexpected justice, hit that subscribe button and follow my channel, Behind the Billions, for the full story and so much more. Trust me. You don't want to miss what happens next. Take your hand off that display, the manager snapped, pointing directly at the woman in red. Those diamonds are worth more than your monthly rent. The woman raised an eyebrow, amused but composed. Good thing I own more than one home, then. The manager scoffed. Listen, I've worked here long enough to know who's here to buy and who's here to pretend. You're in the wrong store. The woman didn't flinch. Is that so? Yes. And unless you can prove you're not wasting my time, I suggest you leave. The entire store froze. The hum of soft jazz playing overhead suddenly felt like a funeral march. 2 employees behind the counter had stopped mid-task, eyes wide. A man in a tailored gray suit slowly turned his head, sensing drama in the air. Still calm, the woman in red pulled out her phone and dialed one number. It's Danielle, she said quietly. Come to the floor. It's happening again. The manager folded her arms, clueless. Calling backup? Cute. Security should have been my next call anyway. 30 seconds later, a sharply dressed man walked briskly into the store. He locked eyes with the woman and immediately looked shaken. Miss Warren, Miss CEO. The manager's face went pale. Her arms slowly dropped to her sides. Wait. CEO? Danielle Warren finally turned to face the staff, her voice measured but piercing. Yes. I'm the CEO. And I just got profiled in my own store. The silence that followed hit harder than any shout ever could. This wasn't just a misunderstanding. This was a reckoning. Danielle had built this company from the ground up, sleepless nights, ignored emails, pitch meetings where she was talked over. And now, the very empire she created had turned on her in the form of one arrogant manager who couldn't see past skin and status. But this wasn't the first time it had happened. And today, she wasn't letting it slide. Because 1 minute later, someone was about to lose everything they thought they controlled. And the woman they underestimated? She was just getting started. I didn't know, the manager stammered, trying to gather her crumbling pride. You should have said who you were. Danielle turned to her, cool as steel. Why should I have to introduce myself to be treated like a human being? The words hung in the air like a slap. And the manager, suddenly so quiet, had no comeback. Danielle didn't come to shop. She didn't come for praise or attention. She came to observe. She'd always believed that how you treat a stranger when no one's watching says everything about you, and everything about the culture you've built. This was her flagship store. Her pride. Her vision brought to life in glass, gold, and velvet. And now she stood in the very place that was supposed to represent inclusion and elegance, being told she wasn't welcome. The irony? The store's opening plaque bore her name in gold letters just 2 feet from the manager's desk. Danielle glanced toward it now, then back to the wide-eyed staff, their faces a mix of fear and awe. I built this place so people from every background could feel luxury belongs to them, she said, voice steady. So what exactly are we selling, jewelry or judgment? Nobody answered. She didn't need them to. The room was frozen in place. The manager's face drained of color as her mouth parted slightly. Wait, you're the CEO? Danielle didn't smile. She didn't gloat. She simply stared. That's right, she said quietly. You just profiled your boss. The hum of the store, clinking glass, murmuring customers, had gone completely still. Even the security camera above the register seemed to hold its breath. The manager blinked fast, like her brain was rebooting. Look, I didn't recognize you. It's policy to keep an eye out for suspicious behavior. I was just doing my job. Danielle raised an eyebrow. Suspicious behavior, like walking into my own store and looking at my own merchandise? I didn't mean it that way. No? Danielle tilted her head. Then tell me, what exactly did I do that set off your alarms? The manager opened her mouth but no words came out. Behind her, a young employee with shaking hands put down a tray of earrings and slowly stepped back. Danielle turned her attention to the staff. Has anyone here had customer service training recently? One of them, barely out of college by the look of her, nodded sheepishly. We had a session 2 weeks ago. But, not all of us were there. Danielle looked straight at the manager again. James, the head of operations, cleared his throat nervously. Ms. Warren, if I may. I want to sincerely apologize. This should never have happened. She's been on thin ice before, Anne. Danielle cut him off. This isn't about apologies. This is about accountability. The manager finally snapped, her voice rising. You know what? If you wanted to test us, fine. But walking in like a mystery shopper, that's manipulation. Danielle's voice dropped an octave, calm, but lethal. I didn't come in to test anyone. I came in to see if my company's culture actually exists when I'm not in the room. Guess what? It doesn't. Boom. You could feel the weight of her words land like thunder on the polished marble floor. A customer in the corner whispered, "That's the coldest burn I've ever heard." Danielle took one step forward. Here's the part you don't get. I'm not mad because you didn't recognize me. I'm furious because you looked at me, made a snap decision, and humiliated me in my own house. The manager tried again, weakly. It was an honest mistake. No, Danielle said sharply. It was a learned habit. And habits like that? They cost people more than jobs. They cost trust. They cost lives. James looked at his watch. Danielle didn't even glance at it. You know what to do, she said. And with that, the countdown began. 60 seconds. One decision. Everything was about to change. The manager stood frozen, watching James slowly walk toward her like a silent executioner. Danielle didn't move. She didn't need to. Her presence was louder than any shout. You're actually firing me? Over a misunderstanding, the manager stammered, looking between Danielle and James. James hesitated. This isn't the first complaint. The manager's eyes flared. I've worked here for 5 years. I trained half these people. You're really going to take her word over mine? Danielle finally spoke. I'm not taking my word over yours. I'm taking the word of every single customer and employee you've ever made feel small just because they didn't fit your definition of worthy. You can't prove that, the manager said quickly, but her voice was thinning. There's no record. Danielle gave her a look so sharp it could cut glass. I am the record, she said. Boom. Behind them, the staff exchanged glances, some looked relieved, others guilty. And one quietly nodded to herself, as if justice had finally punched the clock. I put everything I had into building this place, Danielle continued, her voice tight with control. Not just the branding or the product, but the values. Respect. Inclusion. Elevation. She stepped forward. If you thought you could wear this company's badge while degrading the very people it was built for, then you were never part of the mission. You were a threat to it. The manager's lips trembled. I didn't mean to offend you. But you did, Danielle cut in. And worse, you didn't care, until you found out who I was. James placed a neatly folded termination letter on the counter. The manager stared at it like it might catch fire. You can sign it now, or you can fight it, James said gently. But either way, your employment here ends today. The manager looked around. None of her coworkers came to her defense. Not even a word. Only Danielle's voice filled the room now, firm, final. I'm not firing you to make an example, she said. I'm firing you because your behavior already did. The manager grabbed her purse with trembling hands, gave one last bitter glance at Danielle, and turned on her heel. The doors slid open. And just like that, she was gone. Danielle exhaled, slowly. The storm had passed. But the rebuilding had just begun. The air in the store felt different now. No more tension. No more denial. Just truth, hanging heavy and electric, like the last crackle after a storm. Danielle looked around slowly, her eyes meeting the faces of her staff, not with anger now, but expectation. I want you all to listen, she began, her voice quieter now, steadier, but no less commanding. This isn't just about what happened today. This is about who we are when no one's watching. When you think no one important is around. She paused, letting the silence speak too. Because I was around. And guess what? So are our customers. Every single day. She turned to the young employee who had looked so nervous earlier. What's your name? Sophie, the girl said quickly. Danielle nodded. You noticed something was off. You didn't join in. You stepped back. Sophie nodded shyly, her eyes a little wet. That's what integrity looks like, Danielle said. And it matters. You never know who you're standing in front of. More importantly, you never know who's watching how you treat people. James stepped forward. Should I call an emergency team meeting? Danielle shook her head. No. Not today. Today is about remembering why this brand exists. Why I built it. Why I fought for it. We're not here to make people feel small. We're here to remind them they deserve luxury, dignity, no matter how they walk in. An older woman who had been shopping quietly nearby approached Danielle, her voice trembling. I saw the whole thing, she said. And I just want to say thank you. You stood up in a way I never could have when I was your age. Danielle smiled, finally, a real smile. Thank you. That means more than you know. As the woman walked away, Danielle glanced back at the staff and said, we don't hide from moments like this. We lead through them. She turned to leave but stopped at the door, looking back one last time. And next time someone like me walks in, treat her like she owns the place. Because maybe, just maybe, she does. The staff stood in stunned silence as the doors slowly shut behind her. It wasn't just a walkout. It was a mic drop. And from that day on, that store? It changed. The whispers stopped. The bias was checked. And a new rule echoed louder than any training manual ever could. Respect isn't optional. Especially not in her house.